Okay, I'm super excited to have this time to be recording this episode of the Swish podcast. I have here Dr. Marianne Weaver. I known her as just Marianne because she is my own therapist. Works for Eastern Oregon and works for in different cities and states. Hi Marianne, I'm super excited to have you.
Hi, Ish. Yeah, it's good to be here with you.
Let's just jump right into it because I think this is important to like have people see what a conversation is like with a therapist. Knowing I'm a collegiate athlete and I work with kids that look up to me, so I want them to know that it's okay. It's important to go to therapy. It's okay. It's important to have somebody to talk to and open up to. So I'm thankful for you to be here and have this session being recorded.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, and I just want to say, Ish, that that's one of the things that I have grown to love about you most is just your vulnerability and your desire to use just kind of your platform of being a collegiate basketball player and just the influence that you have on other people because of your role and your position, to use all of that as the means of just letting people know it's okay to struggle and it's okay to find someone to talk to about that. So, yeah. So, thanks for being who you are in that place. And it's
Amen
been a
to that.
privilege to journey together.
Amen. And love you forever. Let's start this. Yeah. My first question is, why are people afraid of going to therapy? And can you think of any reasons like people have told you why they won't come to you or any of your friends who work in this?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll start maybe kind of big and then drill it down a little bit.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think culturally, part of the sort of American mentality, American dream, this country is kind of built on, I don't know, individualism and, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and,
Yeah.
just that idea of like independence. I think that, so I think that part of our like American ideology is just kind of goes against that idea of neediness and dependency and we just needing to find other people to help us. I mean, most people kind of go to the doctor when they have to, or they go to the dentist when they have to.
Yeah.
But that idea of just saying I want to grow, I want to get better, I want some help, or I actually need it. I think as humans we just hate our own neediness. We do not like to feel needy as humans. And so there's just an aversion, I think, to feeling that neediness and feeling like we cannot help ourselves. And then we're weak if we can't push through. There's something wrong with us if we can't push through.
And I love what you said because especially where I'm coming, the environment I come from, and the kids where I work with, like we're taught to like especially if you're a guy, like you have to be tough. Like we're told like what it like when if they cry about something. They're told
Mhm.
like, "Why are you crying? Like, what is wrong with you?" Like, I want people to be vulnerable. It's okay to like, if you have emotion, if you have feelings, and I get on to this more as my other question, but it's okay to like, if you're an emotional person, if you love, if you care, then it's okay to like, show your feelings and show your emotions. So, um, yes, I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that because I think people they know why they're afraid to go to therapy, but they don't know they don't want to admit it or they don't know if it's okay reason. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other part, I mean, just you being an athlete, I was a collegiate athlete as well. And so I know that
Ooh.
culture is, uh-huh. Yeah, way a long time ago. Um, but that idea that, as an athlete, I mean, you're always pushing through injuries, right? Like if something hurts and then you're trying to figure out if you can just push through it, like just finish the game, right? Finish the
Mhm.
workout and then go see the trainer afterwards, maybe, but it's just part of, I think, our culture, to try to just push through and not really stay connected to our bodies and and be kind to our bodies. We tend to use our bodies to accomplish what we want to accomplish, and it isn't until they like fully break down or they really get injured that we say, okay, I'll
Now
go
it's
see the
time.
doctor.
Now it's time.
Yeah, now I'll stop. Yeah. But you also mentioned gender too. And I think that that is a huge piece because culturally, you're right. Boys, I mean, you'll get annihilated on the playground if
Hmm.
you cry
Yeah.
or if, right, if you're sensitive, if you're vulnerable, if you connect with your emotions and share those with people. It's really not safe in a lot of areas of our culture for, especially for boys, for males to show their emotion and be vulnerable. Um, yeah. So different cultures have different messages, right?
And even like culture, you even say like how even you were like your parents that you grew up like some come from unfortunate situations where they don't see like their parents as loving or like some where for example where me more that I love so deep maybe that's because I've seen like my parents married for like over like 30 years and stuff like
Yeah.
but other people they see like their parents like only one parent or like divorce situation so like I think that's also like just like be appreciative or like know what environment you come from, and that's if that's who you are, that's who you are. I think like some people try to live a other life because other people who are going through other situations. I think I've learned from you, especially thank you, to like it's okay to like wherever my heart is, or like wherever my environment or culture I come from, like it's okay to love that way. So that's why I just want people like
Yeah.
to admire their culture, to learn about themselves, learn about like their parents, learn how they deal with situations, and then just become who you are, just like that. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's go to the second question.
Okay.
What are different ways therapy helps a person get through their struggles? Or you touched this a little bit on, but like, what are different ways therapy can help? You know,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Well, I think you just spoke to that as well, right? With that idea of like when we get to know who we really are, we get to know what we really think and what we value, and we get to know our own heart and what moves us. What is meaningful to us? What are we passionate about? What brings our body online? Makes our eyes light up.
Mhm.
What do we hate? Like what do we like want to push against because we're not okay with like certain types of suffering or people being treated in certain ways. Learning about ourselves then helps us get clear on our identity, and getting clear on our identity helps us get clear on our vocation and our purpose and meaning in life, and what were we created to do on this earth, and what were we not created to do. So we stop trying to be somebody that we're not,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, what you said about just getting to know yourself better and becoming more and more of your true self. And I mean, that's what I've seen you really do and live out in your life, just in all the work that you've done. Um, so I think that's really where it's at for me.
No, I amen to that. Just because like people can always learn. We think we always know it all, but you can always learn, through different ways. You can always learn through different conversations. And I feel like everybody's going through something that they stay within, like they stay silent about. And I think if you just maybe you find that one person that might not be a certified therapist, but you call like your therapist where you just open up and
Absolutely.
they, what I'm saying? Like this doesn't have to be just find your therapist. I just want everybody to like find their person that they could like open up to and talk to. So amen to that. Like therapy or like finding that person that can like open like different layers of your life, things that important that you said, not just the good but the bad. Like I remember a time before we created boundaries. Like what do you accept? What would you decline? You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
I think it's important to just talk about the good and the bad. Like therapy is not people just to think like therapy is Marianne is just telling me, oh, I'm this good person. Like you've told me like stuff before which is deep or like things I didn't want to hear before. So it's just about like finding your person where you can open
Mhm.
up different ways to be your true self. So amen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone who, is safe for us, right? Because it is that psychological safety. It's like if I tell you my deepest desires, if I share with you just the thoughts that I have that I can't work with, or I can't get rid of. If I share with you some of my deepest, darkest secrets, will you love me? Will you accept me? Will you stay with me? And will you, I don't know, kind of receive me in that place and then help me? So yeah, anybody who can do that is the kind of attachment person that we need in order to connect as well as to form our identity. And so I think about therapy as specifically, I mean, that is part of the purpose of therapy and counseling. But like you said, any safe relationship, a person can heal and grow in.
Mhm. All right,
Yeah.
let's go to this next one because
Okay.
this one might be my favorite. Might be all right. Why are people afraid to admit they love so deep? And maybe I could start off with this one just because I think that was my problem. You were the first person to tell me it's okay. Maybe you could like reword your word, but it was like the first time I heard somebody tell me and it hit me like forever. Like it's okay to be a black man, a black athlete that like loves deep, and that hit deep because from even the environment, not even the environment I come from like all the role models I look up to, like celebrities, like you're told like they're like strong black men that they gotta like protect their family, hide their emotions. But I've seen instances or examples where like athletes go through like depression or mental health, and I know that was like the first time where it hit me where I feel like okay, I can live this way. So like, why people like
Mhm.
why did it? I mean, it took me like 23 years, 24 years, to finally admit like, okay, I'm a deep person that loves. Like, why are people afraid to admit that? Or like, what is the struggle in finding that for people?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I have a lot of emotion right now, because I remember that conversation that we
Yes.
had, and how, yeah, like you were, like it was so evident to me that you love so well and that you love deeply. And again,
Let me say like to the people, like I was upset, but I was like I was asking Marianne, is it okay for me doing all these nice things, like doing all these right things? And then she was like, yes, it's okay to be you, like it's okay to so yeah, continue, sorry.
yeah, yeah. And so yeah, you just your capacity to love as a man, right? Because we already talked about the gender piece and how you're socialized to be strong. And yes, you can be protective, but you can't be like love passionately or vulnerably because that looks more weak, right, than protective. Um, but then also specifically as a black man, right? That was one thing that we talked about, is just I'm white, you're black, right?
Mhm,
Like we're raised very, very, very differently. And so your capacity to love was so evident to me, but you were ambivalent about that part of you. It's almost like you didn't want that part to be true.
I didn't want it to be true at all. You're
No,
absolutely right.
because the cost, right? Like if that was true, then that makes you more vulnerable. And that means that you connect with something that is true inside of you that you then want to go on a search for. But the vulnerability in loving deeply and well is, it can be so costly. And
Mhm,
so rewarding too when you find it, but costly when you either don't find it or you have it and then you lose it. So we tend to be ambivalent about like our deepest desires and the things that are true about, like most deeply true about our identity, because there's always that there's always the reward if we get it, but there's always the deepest pain inside when we don't. And so I think we have a love-hate relationship with like the deepest truths about who we are and
mhm,
the deepest wants and longings that we have inside of us. And so that ambivalence then makes us like want to talk about it, but then we don't want to talk about it. We want somebody to see us and name those things that are true about us, but we also want to hide them from people so they don't see them. So
mhm,
we're not too vulnerable.
mhm.
Right. And so
Yeah.
there's always, yeah, I think that that ambivalence is just something that we're in conflict with inside ourselves.
No, and then when I mean like love so deep, it don't always have to be like in like relationship. Like it could be like finding love for God. It could be like, doing the right thing when like nobody's watching, or just like,
Yep.
always do like find yourself within and like do what makes you like happy at the moment. Like I never thought I would find myself, in these conversations. Like you said, like a white woman, like a black man, like a lot of people, if I told them like about this, they might think it's weird or whatever. But until like you like start, talking or like experiencing different stuff out of your comfort zone, I feel like that's what like therapy is, just getting out your comfort zone, opening it up, or even like finding not even therapy, like anybody that's an outlet, like finding themselves. So I
Mhm.
think that's like being afraid to love is or be loving is getting out your comfort zone, and that's what people, that's what they even taught in church. Remember like going to church Bible studies, like even told like things that are out your comfort zone. Or something that's like that's what they talk about. So
Mhm. Right. Well, and I think the other piece of an answer to your question also has to do with this idea that as humans, like we want to, seek pleasure, we want to avoid pain, right? Because I mean, good feelings feel better than bad feelings.
Mhm.
And so, if we're going to be vulnerable and if we're going to love well, and if we're going to step in to the truth of who we were created to be and really live out all our wants and our longings and our desires in vulnerability, we are going to hurt like hell. It's inevitable,
Amen.
right?
We hurt till this day. Like
Yes, yes.
we talked about
And
it.
yes. And so there's always a cost to being vulnerable and being seen and being known by somebody, because there's always, just like we want acceptance, we long for acceptance, there's always the risk of rejection. And when we're connecting with another human being, or we're just even connecting with life, whether it's a natural disaster, right? Like you build a house and it gets destroyed, right? You build a relationship and the person leaves. It's just, there's always good and bad that are coexisting. And so with vulnerability, then comes that challenge of being able to embrace the good and the bad.
And the bad. Yeah, both. You
Yes.
gotta embrace both. You gotta embrace both.
Right, because both are always present. And sometimes we
Mhm.
experience more love than we do rejection. Other times we experience more rejection than we do love, but they both always coexist. And so I think that's why we're at war with our own vulnerability, is because holding the good and the bad and the blessings and the tragedies
Mhm.
at the same time is really tough to do. And I do not think we were created to hold all of that alone. And that's where I think that we need other people to be around us and say, yeah, I'll sit with you in the rubble of the rejection that you're experiencing. And I'll celebrate with you the blessings and the privileges that you're experiencing and the goodness.
Mm.
Yeah.
I want to skip to this question because I think this is important for people to know because when they go to therapy, they probably think, uh, oh, this is only like if it helps me, like the therapist is just gonna like forget it. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't factor in like in the therapist. And I thought our relationship, the more we continue to grow, I see how much like even our sessions, has an effect on you. You know what I'm saying? So my question is like, how does therapy also affect the therapist? Like, is there any way like you learn like from our sessions, or is there any way like it benefits you to become a better person?
Hmm. Oh my gosh, yes. I think I found the sweetest job in the entire world, because I get to connect with people again on the mountaintops and in the deepest valleys of life, um and be who I am
Hmm.
in the room or on the screen with someone. And so I get to experience me as a person and get to experience me doing what I was literally created to do on this earth. And I get paid for it, which is like my encouragement to everyone is just figure out what you love to do, what you love to do, what you were created to do, and then you can get paid for it. It's just kind of a double blessing there. um but the reality for me, and this is how I do therapy, is that my clients always show me what my next area of healing and growth is for myself. um and that is because I do show up very vulnerably and very present. And regardless of what I'm going through, whether it's, my breast cancer journey or my divorce or just like tough stuff in my life, raising kids, or again, those times and places in my life when I was celebrating something, I just show up and I bring myself and I bring all of me that I have access to. And in the process, it's like you've experienced ish. It's even though I've been your therapist, it's like there's a level of mutuality.
Yeah.
Um, and I usually end up growing to love the people that I work with because of the sacred places that we get to share together. So I think of the process of counseling and therapy as just a real sacred experience.
Hey, I appreciate you saying all that. And our experience and our relationship has helped me, like, try to create this platform or try to, like, just because I've had friends that have told me about, like, them going to therapy, or like they just tell me to go to therapy, or they don't like talk more about it, you know what I'm saying? Or like I feel like going to therapy is good, but you gotta, let it out, you know what I'm saying? Like be vulnerable. Like you said, the more vulnerable
Yeah.
you, the more like you learn about the good or the bad, and the more like you find yourself in. So I feel
Mhm.
like, yes, man, like even like the more relationship you go with, like with your therapist too, the more vulnerable they might be. Like the more you open up, just like you said, you just named the number of things that you're going through. Like you don't know what that therapist. Everybody's a human being. You know what I'm saying? Like any,
Exactly.
anybody that you open up to, like just because they're good at giving advice, or like for example me, like people would just think like at the Eastern Oregon games, I was loved by so many people, but I was going to
Yep.
you. I was going to you like throughout, every
Mhm.
other week, just because I'm going through things, and
Right.
you helped me become like a role model for kids down there, and like for fans and stuff. So yes, I believe
Mhm.
it's important to like think about yourself when you're going to therapy, and just think about also being vulnerable, like to the therapist, because that therapist also, or what anybody we open up to is going to be more
Mhm.
open up to you, more vulnerable. So appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. Well, and
Mm.
I like what you shared too about that idea that, yes, I mean, bottom line is we're all humans, right? We are all on an even playing field as humans, even though we might have positions of power, we have areas of privilege, right? We have areas of authority. And I fully embrace all the power and the privilege, that I do have in all the roles and positions that I play. But my idea though, and this is what I know that you do in your life as well, it's like you take that authority and the privilege and the ways that other people are literally looking up to you, and they have to look really up. I look up to you too because you're so tall. um, right, but man, you use all of that power and privilege and authority then to empower others and invite them into a place of mutuality, where you're present, they can actually do relationship with you. You're accessible to them. You get down on their level, right? And so yeah, that mutuality piece is something that I love to invite others to experience with me, because that's where, again, that's where I am most fulfilled as a human being as well.
I appreciate all your words, you saying that.
Mhm.
Well, I wanted this to be like a real life conversation back and forth, and we only get 30 minutes for our therapy session. So I'm gonna wrap it up like right there. So people, when they listen, they could be like, "Oh, this 30 minute, like it was therapy session." But I want to just to end up by saying, please, if you're going through stuff, which I know everybody is, just seek that. If it's your parents, if it's like a therapist, if you want to reach out to me, just seek that one person that you can talk to, that you can find advice. And it's not gonna help right away, but it's you just we trying to find layers, or like trying to find methods. Like, Marianne, she did a good job with me of like creating a list where things that I could accept, things I don't accept, or she just oh, like you never know that one, like I said, when she told me I'm a deep black lover, you never know that one line or that one day, that conversation that might change, the person that you are. So, Marianne, I want to say thank you for taking the time to record this. Hopefully, uh, people it hits somebody, it like influences somebody, it brightens somebody's day, and I appreciate you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. This was fun. Thanks for the invite.